we start with how PMI. So you know, right? PMI has changed the name of this certification. Earlier, it was
Yes.
CPMI, which was Cognitive Project Management AI. Now it is PMI, Certified Professional in Managing AI. So probably they wanted to bring PMI name into the certification name as well. So, but more or less, I think the content more or less remains the same. It still has
Okay.
those 6 phases. And also, I would like to distinguish the expectation, or upfront, I would like to set the expectation of the course. It's not an AI/ML course, right? And you must be aware. This is more from how you will manage AI projects, because as a manager, as a project manager, or a person who is managing an AI project, you don't need to actually write those code, right? You don't need to train a model by yourself, but then you need to be able to ask the right questions and assess whether your team is implementing the right model, whether data is collected appropriately, or it is how it is cleaned, and those kind of things. And more
Okay.
importantly, if your project is connected to the business objective, I think that's where when you are managing an AI project, that's the most important. So
Sure.
moving to so there has been a lot of studies, and a recent study shows that 85% of AI projects, they cannot make to the production. And why they cannot? Because, as I mentioned, due to unclear business objectives, and those objectives are not aligned to AI capabilities. So business expected something out of, because now when people hear AI, they expect wonders out of it, right? But
Yeah.
AI in itself has its limitations, and that brings in the second point, which is poor data quality. And so garbage in is garbage out. So one
Okay.
of the main responsibility a person who is managing AI is to ensure that you are inputting the right data into the model, right? Because if you provide wrong information to the model, it will get trained in that data, and then it will infer and predict based on whatever you have provided as an input.
Yeah.
The third point is the reason why projects fail is lack of stakeholder alignment and unrealistic expectations.
Yes.
Uh, so this I can say from my personal experience in one of my previous projects. It was a huge transformation project by a global company, and they invested almost $1 billion in that transformation. So
Okay.
after implementing that for 4 years, once once the customer was able to launch their first product, their business had a shock. They were expecting something else from the product, and it was doing something else, because it was clearly not meeting their ROI, because they projected certain ROI based on 1 billion they invested. They expected a lot out of it, but then the
Okay.
system was only capable of launching one product, and that was what it was designed for. But then business was expecting that they can launch anything, any product out of it. So so clearly it was a stakeholder misalignment between business, and more importantly, it happens between business and IT department of the organizations. So it is very important. It's not just for any AI project, it's for any project, it's true for any project. The stakeholder alignment is very important to set the expectations so that everyone is aligned towards the project objective. Yeah, and the fourth point, again, it talks about the same thing: technical team disconnected from business needs. So again, you must have seen in your personal experience that uh, a lot of times you will see developers or architects. They architect something, they design something which the technology is supporting, and they try to try to change the business requirement. I have, in my personal experience, I have seen a lot of cases where there had been discussions between the lead architect and the business owner that you cannot implement this thing in this way, the way you are asking. But then that's the
Yeah.
business, right? That's driving the automation. So that's where I think we sometimes misaligned. The technical team gets disconnected from the business need. So this is very important upfront. We need to be able to constrain that and limit it to certain extent so that it doesn't impact the project in a later phase. And currently the challenge is because AI is new, right? It's still evolving. AI 1 year back was completely different than what AI is today, and certainly there is no clear framework. And that's why I think PMI bought this company, Cognalytics, and they acquired this certification, right? PMI, CPMI certification. So no framework for managing AI specific risks and ethics. So when we talk about risk in normal IT projects, we talk about risk in little different way than in AI projects, because in AI project your risks are related to bias. The risks are related to your ethical issues like your personal information, personal identification information should not be there in your data. Your GDPR or general data protection regulation guidelines should be followed, or say CCPA, which is California Privacy Rights Act. So those kind of standards should be inbuilt within your design, so that you don't expose enterprise data or business data to the world. Because now when you implement any AI, it's certainly going to at some point in time hit any LLM. And that LLM, if it is in the public domain, it's going to get trained on your data. So you need to be very careful with those. So that is
Oh,
one of the, I think,
one of
uh,
the big thing, right?
big, big things. Yeah, yeah.
So
To
can I
me,
ask?
yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, sorry, it is a step back question from the previous slide, or when you were mentioning about the LLM. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
you were trying to explain me that, and you were setting the expectations that CPMAI is more for the project manager, which is I am right now. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
project manager working with Wipro. And my aim is, again, to be align myself with the AI technology so that
Mm-hmm.
I can understand the AI technology, how it works, so
Mm-hmm.
that I can manage the projects for the AI technology. Like if somebody wants to deploy the agentic solution to their
Mm-hmm.
business
Mm-hmm.
or any other artificial intelligence solution, then if they see me and they talk to me and they understand that yes, he is the right person, then yes, they can hire me. So this is my aim for getting certified. So am I thinking right? I
Yes.
am I'm not I wasn't the developer at all. I have never been into the development shoes. I have never been into the testing as well. I did manage a lot of software development projects. Um, I have also managed middleware projects. I've also managed projects from the infrastructure, which is the data center
Mm-hmm.
commissioning and decommissioning. So, do you think that by doing this certification, I can step into a new technology domain, which is AI, and then this certification can also help me delivering the projects there without knowing the deep inside knowledge of the AI?
Correct. Correct. Absolutely. Yeah, I think this is what I meant earlier when I did not get go deep into it. But then, since you asked me this question, and and this is a very valid question and very genuine question. A lot of people, when I talk to them today, they have this question, and certainly you are not expected to go and, for that matter, I will say not even developers who are developing currently in AI domain, they are not writing those models, right? These models are already established. These are ready packages which are already there, and they're just using those, and they are fine tuning those models and as per the requirement, and then they're deploying the code. But then as a manager who is managing an AI project, definitely you cannot go and do that development, but then you should be in a position to ask them the right questions, right?
Okay.
If they
Okay.
have chose they chose a, reinforcement model, you should be able to ask them why you choose this model. What is
Mm,
your logic behind it? Why you are choosing this? What are the performances you will gain out of it? and whether that's getting aligned with your success criteria, what you defined with your business, right? So
Okay.
you no one should come and say that should be able to fool you, if I may use that word, and say
Yeah.
that no, this is how it works. Then you should be able to say no, this is not how it works. I need to understand, and that's what PMI has done is they created a workbook, and I'll show you once we start into the actual the course, because I was not prepared for starting the course today. So I just wanted to understand your point of view and also just to explain the domain itself. So we'll see. We'll go through that workbook. It gives. I'll not be able to share with you the actual PMI workbook because I'm not authorized to share. But then I'll share the content with you so that you are at least able to, uh, use uh, the actual
Sure.
content which is there in the PMI workbook.
Okay.
And I'll share with you, but just give me some time because I was not prepared to share all this with you. Just give me 1 or 2 days and I'll share with you.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes, no worries.
Uh, uh,
Right. So
okay.
for one of the other example is like in any of the software development project,
Mm-hmm.
um, if I am talking to a developer, he definitely would have a couple of logical reason to go one of the route. For example, if he wants to modify a code as opposed to just providing a fix, or let's say we fall into a technical debt, he's saying that no, we do not want to waste our time doing the technical debt. Let's just patch this software for the functionality, and we can deliver the technical debt later on.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I can definitely pitch in saying that, technical debt is something is being pending for a long time, and now we have to fix it because somewhere down the time, if we keep on delaying the technical debt, it will just be ready for the bigger risk. Um, so that's sort of the conversation I always have with the software developers who are
Mm-hmm.
working on a project or trying to fix any problem for our customer.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think that with the very less age of AI projects, which is we initially deep diving into the AI projects not a very long ago, um, maybe 6 months down the line. I know AI technology in itself is a very old technology, but it has started coming into the picture maybe 6 months or 1 year
Correct.
from now, and people are moving into its direction, not
Correct.
very long time. So now nobody had that long runway that we understand what is the technicalities behind the AI projects. So how do I convince the interviewee saying that I can manage the AI projects because I have done the CPMAI?
Yeah, I think that itself speaks for because you will see even CPMI has evolved in last in 6 months. In last 6 months, they have evolved in a completely different way. Because earlier it was a little bit different. Then PMI acquired it. Then they clubbed project management and AI together, and then they packaged it as this CPMI course. So maybe let me skip few slides and I'll just prepone to show you the 6 phases. These are the 6 phases of CPMI framework, right? It starts with business understanding. Then phase 2 is data understanding,
Mhm.
data preparation, model development, model evaluation, and then model deployment, right? So these are the 6 phases. Now you
Okay.
can imagine for any AI
Yes.
project, it
Yes. I got
it will
point.
have a business requirement
I
which is
got it.
driving that project, right? So this
Mhm.
phase will cover your business understanding, phase one. Then any AI project, if you have to implement, it has to have some data. Based on that data, you will train a model, right? So
Oh,
your understanding of data understanding is a must, and it has to be used in any kind of, irrespective whether you are doing CPMI methodology or not. I'm not talking about even CPMI methodology. Say tomorrow you just want to implement a AI project. So
okay.
you need data to implement that AI project, right? though you don't have a CPMI framework, but still somehow you will get that data, you will understand that data. And then phase three is your data preparation. So once you get your data, if you, because in today's enterprise, you will have structured, unstructured data, you will have data from social media, you will have data from databases. So, and everything needs to be merged into a readable tabular format so that your model understands that data. You need to
Good.
remove all the clean that data. Basically, it's called data cleansing phase. So in the cleansing phase, you remove the duplicity, you remove the nulls, you remove if there it is a numeric column, if there are any text in the field, you need to remove those. So those kind of data cleaning you will do. So you need to go through this data preparation phase before, because model will not understand your data, you will get error. So you have to go through this, and then you select a model. Your model selection is done based on your business requirement. You whether you want to do a classification problem, you want to solve a prediction problem. Based on that, you select a model, and then you train that model with your training data set. And then you with your training data set, you again then um, evaluate that model. With your test data set, you evaluate that model. And then once you are happy with your model is performing in the development environment, it's performing as per the criteria you decided, the acceptance criteria, you go ahead and deploy it. So these phases are very generic, right? And it has to be followed. There is no other way to go
No,
about it, right?
got it, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what PMI has done is, for each of these phase, if I let me show you the handbook. So for each of these, so this is the frame, the handbook from PMI, and
Okay.
so this is called CPMI workbook. And so CPMI has done, they call it CPMI hierarchy. So at the top of the hierarchy is the phases, what I showed you, the business
Okay.
understanding.
Yes.
There are these 6 phases.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
inside this, each of these phases, they have defined some tasks,
Okay.
determine business objectives, cognitive project requirements, assess situations. Though these are not completely exhaustive, there might be in certain projects, there might be different, but you get the idea, right? Once you
Good.
know how to handle a task. Now, in these are called generic tasks, or sometimes they call it task group. Now,
Got
inside
it.
this, there will be subtasks, which are specialized tasks.
Mm-hmm.
So here you can see determine business objectives. The specialized task, one of the specialized tasks is determine business objectives. Again, there will be a kind
Yes.
of workbook where you will fill up the business objectives. So
Yeah.
similarly, you will go ahead and do it for all the phases. And the whole
Okay.
workbook itself, what PMI suggests is, for every project, each iteration. So this is an iterative process. If I go back to this,
Okay.
the whole
Yeah.
process is iterative. So
Iterative.
it's not one time that you go through this
But
phase,
yeah.
6 phases, you are done. It's
Yes.
completely iterative. You'll go ahead and do this again and again. And every time you do, each iteration should have one instance of this workbook. Again, you will fill up all the, so it gives you, if we go to, so here you'll see it starts with here what problem you are trying to solve with this in this
Mm-hmm.
iteration.
In this
So it
iteration.
starts with those basic questions, and it will go for all. It will go on. It will cover all the phases. So for every iteration, you will do this thing. So once you do this thing, and this you will not do in isolation, right? You will do with your team, the project team. So once you do this with your project team, you understand, okay, you are getting everyone's feedback and you are documenting it. Now, once you document everything, you know why it was, you know exactly why it was implemented. And then in the next iteration, if somebody says, no, that was, it should not have been done this way, it should have been done this way, you go back to this workbook and you can see that, okay, this was the reason why this particular step was followed. Now you can debate and discuss, okay, if that step was wrong or right. But then you are having a very structured way of handling the project. That's how we manage any other project, right? In normal projects, in normal IT projects also, you do all that documentations. You
Yes.
have your risk logs, you have your project charter, you have your action items, and all, so and so forth. So you do all this documentation. Similarly, in terms of this AI projects, you will do all this documentation, and this is what this framework talks about. It doesn't talk about actually how to implement the model. It talks about, okay, you understand this model now. If this model was implemented, why you are implementing this model? So those kind of right questions it will ask.
Got
So
it. Got it.
that's where the framework takes you. So
Got
this
it.
is the 6 phases. Again, just understanding these 6 phases. The first 3 phases deals with the business requirement. You get the business understanding. Here you define the objectives, success metrics, assess feasibility, and identify stakeholders. So these are kind of they call it methodology artifacts, or in our IT terms we call them deliverables, right? So these are kind of deliverables, and then it talks about data understanding, which is one of the most important and key part of any AI project. So here you need to understand what should be the data, where it is, where there are gaps in the data, and whether you are having any risk in the data, like in terms of exposing enterprise data or personal information, or any commercial information. So that's what is data understanding. And phase three is data preparation. So here you clean, transform, engineer the features. So you will identify the in the project, in any AI project, based on your data, you will identify which feature is nothing but, in terms of, if you think of a table, in a table you have columns, right? Different columns. Suppose, for example, say there is a customer table. So you have customer name, customer location, customer maybe sales volume, or just I'm throwing some names here. So you identify that your project requirement needs to predict the sales volume of the customer. So given a particular location, geographic location, and given a product type, and given a customer name, it should be able to predict how much it can, how much sales volume it can generate. So you identify that sales volume is your key parameter which you want to predict. So that becomes your feature. So that is what
Okay.
it calls engineer features. And
Okay.
then you create training data sets, because when you will train your model, you might not have huge volume of data. So you will also create, your team will create synthetic data, and based on that you will train your model, and then you divide your data set into a training data set and a test data set. So maybe some 60/40 ratio or 70/30 ratio. So you will keep 30% of your data for testing and 70% for training. So once you have done your training, you will use that other 30% to train or evaluate your model. So that's what it's talking about. And as I mentioned earlier, this is the most time for any AI project. The maximum time spent is on these 3 phases. Almost like 80% of the whole work is done here, because once you have a clean, clear data, a very good data set, rest is very quick, right? Training a model and then deploying it doesn't take that much of time.
Okay. Okay.
So
Got
this
it.
is phase 1 to 3, and phase 3 to 6 is again the model development. So once you have your data in place, and that's where data scientists come into play in this first 3 phases.
Okay.
In the Mostly in this first phase 2 and phase 3, here data scientists come into picture. They are expert in cleaning data, fine tuning that data, and then training your model, preparing that data for your model to be trained. And then you develop your model, because as I mentioned, mostly models are not created now. Models are already there. There will be some um, different, like Facebook created some models. Google created a lot of models. So there are
Okay.
TensorFlow and all those kind of models are there. And you will just pick and choose based on your requirement which model to use, and then you will train with that localized data. Your LLM is also nothing but a model, right? It's, at the end of the day, it's a model. LLM. It's a kind of
Okay.
large language model. That's why they call it large language model. And
Good.
they are trained with huge volume of data. They are fed with the whole internet's data. And that's why they are so resource intensive, and it takes time to train those data, train those models. So once they are trained with everything in the world, so now when you ask them anything, it just predicts the next correct word, right?
Okay.
That's how LLM works. So
Yes.
imagine that LLM is nothing but your this model. So LLM is a kind of model. TensorFlow is another type of model. Reinforcement model is another type of model. So there are hundreds and thousands of models. Then the phase 5 is the testing of the model. So you kept your test data, you will test your model, and then you will test against your success criteria. It's kind of, you can think of the test cases in normal IT project. You will run tests, your progression, regression tests. You will have your test cases, and based on that, you will run. So here again, you will run the model through different test data and see whether it's predicting the same. Its efficiency and efficacy is the same. It's acceptable. So that's
Got it.
how it will go. And then once you have everything, you go ahead and deploy. Again, this also, there will be a DevOps team, there will be an infrastructure team who will go ahead and deploy this. But you need to ensure that right things are in place before it is deployed. There is a right monitoring plan is there. Then if and for AI, there is a little bit different, because once you deploy, your data might change, right? And that's what is called drift. There is a terminology called model drift. So model
Model.
drift is nothing but when a model is trained and it is working for some time, maybe your underlying data has changed, right? Your
Hmm.
patterns have changed, the data patterns have changed, the sales, the business uh, sale pattern might have changed. From one geo, it might have moved to some other location. So now, but your model is still trained on the previous data. So it's still predicting based on your previous data. But then in the reality, the real data has changed. So that's what is called model drift. So you need to have a plan of based on how long you expect your data, like maybe if you forecast that in next 6 months my data might change drastically, then you should have a plan to retrain your model in next 6 months, right? So that's what it's saying, plan for retraining.
Got it.
And establish a governance. You maintain a, it's same as IT projects, I'll say. You have a governance structure around it, release management around it, how you are releasing your models, your trained models. You will do version controlling of your test data, your trained data, so that because uh, when you are personally developing something, it's just your hobby work, right? But then for an enterprise, when you are doing the whole thing, it's a different ball game. Every small thing need to be recorded and need to be maintained, need to be versioned, right? Because tomorrow
Okay.
there might be questions, right? If there is an ethical question coming out, or maybe anything, so you need to be able to trace back. There has to be some kind of requirement traceability back to the data, right? If a model is performing in a certain way, it should be able, you should be able to trace it back to the data. So that's why it's very important that you maintain the version of test and train data. Since
Got
CPMI is a structured approach, you are bringing structure to the whole AI projects.
Yes.
So again, you are focusing, because of this structure, you are focusing business first, because you are starting with business objectives, not the technology. Because the biggest mistake what mostly people do is, because AI and AI projects are two different things. One is the technology part of it, where techies and geeks, they're controlling that AI part, and they are very eager to implement new models, new things. But your business doesn't care about it, right? They want business outcomes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
even if you can do this with an Excel sheet, they're fine, right? If you can
Yes.
show them the ROI, they doesn't need a AI model. But for technology people, it's a different. They want to implement new things and new technologies. So But then any project is driven by the business. So that's why it starts with the business objective and then it slowly moves into uh, the choosing the technology so that these two are transparent to each other. And tomorrow, if because technology is changing drastically in AI, you know that. In
Yes.
like earlier it was years, now it is months, maybe now it is weeks. So tomorrow you might find something else which is more efficient and less resource intensive, so you can shift to that, but your business goal, objectives, everything remains same. So it with this structure, it will be easier for you to replace that technology. So that's what it's talking about. And then you have risk management, which is again built in ethics, because you will go through the checklist that you are not exposing any personal identification information or any GDPR or CCPA data. So that's how you do the risk management, and then you have a governance framework around it. And then again, since the basic concept of this framework is iterative, so the iteration is kind of inbuilt within it. So you start with one phase, you go ahead, you can even go back between the phases and then again go to the next phase, and or you can end the phase and then again start from phase one. So the whole thing is very iterative. That's what it's trying to say. This we already discussed. It's for project managers, data scientists. These are nothing but what we discussed: AI project management, apply PM principles to AI contexts, then data management, model development, deployment, and integration. So once you develop the model, you deploy and integrate it with the business, and ethics and governance. So manage the bias, because bias is one of the, I think, greatest challenges, biggest challenges AI industry is facing. So this is what we discussed. This slide we already discussed. This we already discussed. This also we discussed. And then these are few of the key CPMI artifacts, or they call it methodology artifacts. And so the first one is business objectives document. So in phase one, you will generate this business objective document. Then data quality report, assessment of data readiness and gaps. So from the data preparation phase, data understanding phase, basically you will generate this data quality report. And then model performance dashboard. So this is from the model evaluation phase. And then risk register, it actually cuts through all the phases. You will keep updating. It's kind of our normal IT project risk register, risk log. And then you have your deployment plan, step-by-step production rollout strategy, how you will do rollback, forward deployment, and then rollback, and all those kind of things. And then monitoring framework. So once you deploy, what is your monitoring guideline? How you will detect drift and those kind of things. So the essential skills you'll develop from this course is, one is the business leadership, because this was your question as well. Align AI with business value, communicate with executives, and set realistic expectations. Because AI is not magic. It it can do certain things very well. It cannot do certain things good, and it has its own limitations. So setting expectations is, I think, very important.
Okay.
Secondly, the technical PM skills. So basically, here you will manage ML model lifecycle, the whole lifecycle, what we talked about. Then evaluate model performance. You will understand how model performance need to be, what are the parameters need to be looked at for a model performance. What is a good model? What is a bad model? You should be able to tell that. Whether a model is throwing out, false positives or true positives, or a false negative or true negative. So those kind of evaluation you should be able to do. Navigate data pipeline. So how is your data moving? What is the source of data? How often, or what is the frequency of data getting changed? Those kind of things. Then risk and ethics. Identify and mitigate bias, ensure ethical AI practices, and navigate compliance. team coordination. I think this you are already, since you are already managing projects, this is nothing new to you. Uh, so this is what you will learn here. And next, what you will get is, again, this is what I think your question was earlier, the real world confidence. Learn from actual case studies, practice with realistic scenarios, and build a portfolio of AIPM workflows. So uh, I cannot give you real, I mean, the real projects because of a lot of restrictions and limitations. But then we'll try to mimic something which is very close to real life scenarios and which are actual scenarios but changed for.
I
Uh,
understand. I
uh,
understand your limitations 100%. But
yeah,
yeah, this will definitely give me like extra edge if I like if even if you are able to mimic some real-time projects, then definitely it will help me boosting
correct.
my skills.
Correct, correct. I understand. So I'll try my best to give you.
Sure.
Once you are committed to get certified, I'll give my 200%, and let's
Okay.
say
Sure.
rest is let's keep it with God.
Okay.
And clear certification path. So this is again self-explanatory, and career is advancement, of course. So this is a live kind of exercise. Again, when we are talking about real life example, this is a real life example. A telecom company wants to use AI to predict which customers will cancel their service, right? This is a very real life and
Yes,
a
yes.
classic telecom problem. So how this framework will help is, it will help you to identify what is the business problem here. So it's a high customer churn rate, 25% annually, costing $50 million in lost revenue. So this is what you will identify as part of your business objective. This is the problem business wants to solve. Now, once you know what business wants to solve, now what would the success look like? So this is the problem, but if you solve
Yes.
this problem, what should be solved? So it should reduce churn by 15% through targeted retention campaigns. Okay.
Okay.
Now, if you have achieved this success, if you have reduced churn by 15%,
Okay.
what is needed from AI, right? So from AI, we need to predict probability 90%, 90 days in
In
advance
advance.
with 80% plus accuracy. So that
Okay.
3 months in advance, it can predict with 80% accuracy that this customer is going to churn. Now business has a very actionable um, task
Right.
or an actionable um, direction in their hand. So now they know this customer is going to churn in next 90 days. What they can do? How will this integrate with the business? They will trigger a retention offers. So they will start sending some offers to him. Okay, take this. Uh, you continue with us. You take this data plan for free, or say with maybe uh, 300 GB free, and then maybe very nominal charges, something like that. So
Good.
it gives them a runway to retain that customer. And there are also chances even after doing all this, customer might churn, um, but still you are
At
creating
least.
that possibility for the business, right? So this is a real life how it looks when you implement AI and why you need to implement AI, right? So it will not it will not create any magic, but it will predict something. It will give you with certain percent of accuracy. It's not even 100%, right? It's saying 80% accuracy. So 80% chance is that this particular customer is going to churn. So that's what it will give, but it gives a very actionable task to the business so that they can act on it. So what you will get at the end of this course is complete the framework training, exam preparation for PMI certification. So I'll try to also share some questions with you, though this is not official thing. This is something I'll try to uh, share with you. And then hands-on workbook exercise. So what I showed you, I cannot. I'm telling you upfront, I cannot share this PMI workbook
I
directly with
understand.
you, but you'll get the content. Rest
Yes.
assured. And then real-world case studies. We'll talk about more case studies, and of course, a certificate of completion.